Hello, this is Mike at Humble Running, and welcome to another installment of my Q&A sessions here. I've got many topics to discuss here, but first I want to give a big thank you to all the followers, the subscribers, everybody that's following along with the stuff that I do both here and on Instagram. When I started kind of doing this thing, not just the Q&As, the videos in general, kind of digging into A and B testing, putting my personal spin on things, I really did not count on this level of interaction and engagement and kind of the back and forth between myself and you guys. That aspect of it has been really fun for me. Honestly, did not expect it. So I do key off of a lot of your responses, your comments, questions, things like that. Kind of get a sense of what people are looking for, what's new and interesting, what's going on in the trail running shoe world, and also the trail running and racing scene. So thank you for giving me all that information. Sometimes I come up with new topics just based on comments and questions. Just wanted to say thank you for that before I get started, but let's get right into it. I have a first comment here. It comes from @NotSoCommonSense. Interesting that you kept recommending the Prodigio Pro, but no mention of the 005 unless asked specifically for it. Guess Lospo and perhaps Shirak 2 is the way to go for performance in 2025 if someone isn't willing to spend north of $250 for racing and hard sessions on the trail. So yes, the Norda 005 right here was under embargo for quite a while. I was lucky to get one of the very early samples back in November. If you follow my channel, you saw I let you pick my shoe, I raced in them. The full review was just released. That was March 1st. So I did a quick ABC test, if you haven't caught that yet, against the Shirak 1 and also the OG Salomon Pulsar here. I also recently released a video where I did some wet testing against the La Sportiva Prodigio Pro. I am planning to do a full AB test because these two shoes seem very close and they seem to be the hot shoes, and as far as running and racing, they're going to be top options that people are looking for in 2025. So yes, I apologize for the secrecy ahead of that March 1st announcement date. Nothing I could really do about that. Had to keep things under wrap. They will be available, let me check the date on that, March 13th at Norda. So that's about a week from now, a little over a week from now. You'll be able to get your hands on these. The price is $325. If you're following the reviews, they're all over the place. I hope you'll tune in to some of my ABC testing. Check out that wet test. I have a few tidbits in there, not so much about the direct testing between the shoes, more so about the wet testing. But I will try to get a full AB test between these two shoes before the Norda release date. So $325, of course, is a lot to spend. Not that $195 is not a lot to spend, but that's a bit more. So I want to get that information out to you so you can be better informed on making the choice to spend that kind of money. And by the way, big thanks to Norda for getting myself and Road Trail Run out a bunch of samples. I know we have some great testers in the 005, very positive rave reviews on that shoe. So if you're looking forward to hearing maybe some different opinions from other testers at Road Trail Run, I'm hearing good things so far. Let's put it that way. I do have to say that I have a 001 and an 002 on the way for comparison. I previously tested the 002 model, but I had a US 10 in that model, which was really snug, surprisingly snug, actually kind of like stubby and short. So I was able to test it, but I think I had some issues with it feeling thin underfoot. And that could have been due to being like squeezed up front. The width was okay, but I was just a little bit, after I tested that shoe, I gave it away to someone that has a smaller size than me, and hopefully they're enjoying it. But I do have my correct size on the way, and also an 001 for comparison. So I will be able to compare the 001, 002, and 005 very shortly. So keep an eye out for that. So speaking of other shoe releases, I've got the Merrell MTL Adapt Matrix right over here. This shoe, the review was out a long time ago. Merrell was one of those brands that when we talked to them at TRE, they're like, oh no, we don't do embargoes. You know, if we're showing the shoe at the TRE, you know, we just want the information out there. There's nothing really to hide here. So that's good in the sense that I was able to test the shoe very early, get the review out, but now the shoe has not been released now, and it's kind of like all these other shoes are coming in, and it's like, this shoe is really not out yet. Anyway, this shoe will be releasing in May. I do not have an exact date. I got that confirmation from Merrell. It will be releasing in May. They have another model, very exciting, gravel type of shoe, like this shoe I'll talk about later, called the Pro Morph, and that will be launching in July. So being that's a later release date, I was told that we'll have sample availability within the next month or two. All right, moving down. Now this is something I had lined up for my last Q&A, but it was getting long, I kind of forgot about it. This one comes from S.Curlin. I just want to let you know you are making some really good content and that you are about to blow up if you stay consistent. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, I appreciate that. I'm the biggest fan of the HOKA Mafate Speed 4 and I'm always looking for something comparable, but it's just not out there. I'm talking about the wide base, wider toe box, dual density foam grip and upper. I'm a trail running shoe connoisseur. Nothing that I've tried even comes close to coming together like the Mafate. Any newer releases that fit the bill? Thanks in advice. Thanks in advance, TIA, there you go. HOKA Mafate Speed 4. This shoe I kind of forgot about. It's been out for quite a while. I like this shoe. The one thing I have to know is they just released a Mafate Speed 4 Lite version. I saw the article, I believe on Gear Patrol somewhat early, but now it actually has been released on the HOKA website. It's $180. I think it came out about a couple weeks ago. So essentially the same midsole and outsole unit, and you have just a thinner, didn't really dig into the materials here, but a thinner, lighter weight upper. And that was something that I felt about this Mafate Speed 4. I just felt the upper was maybe a little bit thick, a little bit overbuilt. You could see how this tongue is on the thicker side. Padding is nice. The heel, there's just a lot going on in here. And I believe I have the weight later I'll talk about. I think it's about 10.7 or something in terms of ounces there. So it was kind of a little heavier side, and I always felt it was on the upper. Another thing, I have this in a 9.5, and with HOKAs recently, I've really been going with 10 in HOKAs. 9.5 has been pretty snug. So I like this shoe, I have it. I can take it out with thinner socks, but honestly, haven't been running it too much. I will be getting a Mafate Speed 4 Lite sample, okay? So that is on the way. So that is very exciting. I remember Satisfy did a collab there, and that shoe came out, but I didn't know about it until after it was all sold out. So I had no chance of even thinking about getting it. I think this version has regular laces. Satisfy had a quick lace on that version, and I'm not sure if there's differences to the upper, but they would both be on the thinner, lightweight side. So I'm excited to try that out because I also do really like that shoe. So for this user S.Curlin here, I would recommend maybe taking a look at that one. I mean, in general, stick with what works, especially over longer distances. So if you can get this shoe, drop some weight, hopefully the upper hold is just as good. I mean, that could be awesome. Okay, moving on. Another quick note about the Adidas Speed Ultra. I talked about expensive plated super shoes in my last Q&A. Just a quick note here from June Scapula. Great video as always, and cannot wait to finally run more than a few steps in the Prodigio Pro. Yes, it has been released. I think the inventory is coming in and out. So hopefully you're able to get a pair of those if you want them. Terex ASU has in fact plastic rods. So that's the shoe I forgot to bring out here. But I have a cool pic here. I started kind of searching around for it, and I saw this kind of breakdown of the components underneath the upper. And you can see the shape of the energy rods there. I don't think I've quite seen that before. So I just thought that was an interesting photo to share. And they are plastic rods, apparently, not carbon. So they do carbon, I believe, in their road super shoes. So I guess they probably make it a little more flexy for the trail shoes. I don't think that is a stiff shoe, and I guess those plastic rods have something to do with it. With that shoe, it's more the narrowness under the midfoot and the heel, and of course you have a high stack height. They tried to offset it by making the forefoot super wide to at least give you something there, but it's not those, as you can see from the pictures, they're pretty forked. You got like 4 forks up front and they're split off, and then a wider one in the rear there. So I don't think any of that instability of that shoe is coming from any kind of now plastic rods that I've found out. It's more or less kind of the platform and the narrowness. I have one other question here, moving on from R. Het Hildreth 334. I might have mixed up the combination of those letters there. I feel like the Zegama 2 is pretty much the perfect shoe. Below $200. Some of these shoes are almost as heavy as Zegama. Then if they are much lighter, they don't have the grip needed. Depends on your terrain. I'm East Coast. Yeah, the Zegama 2, that shoe just doesn't tend to agree with me. I never really considered it in the super shoe or even sub super shoe range. Maybe if I was looking at, I guess, high stack type of trainers, I would put it more along those lines. He said there, some of those shoes are almost as heavy. My Zegama 2s in a US 9.5, not even a 10, were 11.1 ounces. So that's like well above the other super shoes. For example, the Pro 2 from North Face, 10.4, Ultra Glide even, which is the Solomon, the recent Solomon, the Ultra Glide even is 10.7. So you're talking almost a half an ounce heavier than this shoe. And I really don't consider this too much of a racing shoe. It's more of kind of a comfort shoe. I wouldn't call it a racing type super shoe. And the Zegama 2 is even almost a half an ounce heavier than that. And just personally, that shoe, you got a ton of stack underfoot. It's great. I think I talked about this in some of my reviews. If you want like the softest cushion underfoot, that Zoom X foam does feel great, but a lot of it is under the heel. It has that kind of thing sticking out under the heel, and I'm not a heel striker typically ever, except for maybe steep descents. So I just feel like being at 11.1 ounces, I feel like I'm pulling that heel foam along with every step, and it is heavy. So I just kind of, I know some people like it. It's just not my kind of thing. Next comment here coming from Corey Hambley. I like the fact that the smaller companies like Run Speedland can make real-time changes based on user feedback and have it rolled out with the next product. Ridiculously well engineered shoe and gets better every pair. Yeah, I had the GL PDX out there with the super shoes. Again, I didn't consider that as a performant type race shoe. Unless you're in extreme kind of mountain terrain, that's a different story. But in terms of the runnable, maybe fast racing shoes, that I kind of threw that in there in terms of the super shoe pricing aspect. So yeah, I mean, small brands like that. If you follow the Run Speedland guys on Instagram, I forgot which guy, maybe Kevin, he's experimenting with stuff constantly and making weird things out of boas and the materials that they use. It's just like really funny, and you could see that how they're innovating on a day-to-day. I think he puts them out weekly, but he's playing around with these materials on a day-to-day basis. So I think that shows up in the kind of speed with which they're able to update some of their models. And I'll read my comment to this. I'll read my response to this comment here because it leads into my next thing. Absolutely. For example, how long is it taking Nike to come out with an updated Ultrafly? That was me speaking there in the comments. Yeah, the Nike Ultrafly, that was another shoe I really from the start didn't consider with the other top super shoes. I know it's carbon plated, but it's so stiff. Like you cannot bend that shoe at all in hand. I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe people like that, but I didn't feel that shoe. And it was heavy too. I don't remember what the exact number was. It was heavy and extremely stiff, and the upper, I think, really needed some work. It was like oddly wide in the front. It was just, didn't work for me. So if you like that shoe, let me know in the comments if there's something about it that you think is better or comparable to some of the other shoes that I have here. Let me know. I mean, I'd love to hear what people that like it think. And yeah, that shoe came out, I don't know, I'm trying to think. I ran it, not this summer. I was doing the Trails Challenge around here and I tried it a couple, so it had to be not last summer, the previous summer that shoe came out. So how long does it take to come out with an updated version? At TRE, Nike said, no, it is not coming out in 2025. We heard that an updated Ultrafly this is what I heard, word of mouth, direct, that they would come out with an updated version in 2026. So we're talking like 3 years to update a shoe, a super shoe, while all these other super shoes are coming out. So that's Nike. It is what it is. But I did see recently Trans Gran Canaria. I found this post. I don't know who posted it here, but I copied the text. As a product tester for all conditions gear ACG, I've been waiting on this day forever now. Caleb Olson dominated the Trans Gran Canaria over the weekend, taking first place, 126K, 6866 meters of elevation gain. I think he crushed the course record, I'm pretty sure. What will be most interesting to most Nike fans is Caleb was wearing an unreleased ACG shoe, which looks to have Ultrafly DNA. So yeah, it seems to be, this is, I would assume, Ultrafly version 2. I'm looking at it. The upper looks to be a little bit different. Perhaps the stack seems, by looks, to be a little bit higher. Not much I could really comment on, but that kind of performance, I think, speaks for itself. Maybe something to look forward to in 2026. Moving on, I have a couple of race shoe picks, or questions about race shoe picks. This one comes from Tro9490. Great vids. If you were doing a Sky Mountain race, 33K, 10K of vert, which shoes are you going with? Went with S-Lab Genesis last year, but looking for something different for 2025. Thanks. Well, I in fact did a race in a similar type of terrain and elevation, Heaven's Gate up in Riggins, Idaho. Very rugged mountain race. There's just like, Jeremy Humphrey puts these flags at one point just straight up the side of a mountain, like just no trail. It's insane. I love it. I'm probably going to go back this year. I really would like to. That race has 7,600 feet of vert over 20 miles, and that includes a pretty gradual 4-mile lead-in before you start the climb. It's a looped course, so you don't, repeat that section. So if you subtract out that first 4 miles, I'm probably getting into the range of elevation gain per mile or kilometer. And I'm showing you the picture there. I was thinking about the Catamount Agile and the Skyfire 2 at the time, mainly because of that vertical aspect, also the traction aspect. I ended up going with the Catamount Agile. I ended up having some pain on the right side of my foot towards the end of the race. It is a counterclockwise full loop and a lot of side hilling. So as I was going around this counterclockwise loop, my right foot was kind of angled this way the entire time. So that might have been a factor. Also, I do tend to find this speed vault plate in this one, it tends to be a bit stiff. If you see where I'm flexing this one, there's not much flexing going on in this area. Around the edge, outer edge of my foot, I got some, it was great in terms of performance. Outside of that, kind of bugging my foot in the end. I was a little concerned that this might be a little too minimal. At the time, that felt just like, I don't know, a hair more underfoot. I was also considering the descent coming down from all that elevation gain. This year, I have the North Face Vective Sky 2 in the mix. Now, being that I had the issues with kind of the side of my foot in that race, this shoe, if you saw, definitely more flexy. Okay, so I think, especially if I flex it like this, you can see how around the middle of the foot, it's more adaptable. And the fit is amazing in this shoe. Great forefoot fit. The carbon plate is fast. Yeah, going up the uphill is going to be great in this shoe. Super light. I would consider these three as the comparables in that range. So I would throw this, I think I'm setting up a thumbnail for that. Look out for that. This shoe in the middle of these two for that type of race. And honestly, if I do go up to Riggins this year and race Heaven's Gate again, this shoe, unless something crazy comes up, this shoe is going to be on my feet. So to answer your question, that's my recommendation. Another recommendation about 100-mile shoes. This is from the Endurus vs. Merrell MTL Adapt. Oh, I forgot my Endurus shoe. That's somewhere in the house. Endurus vs. Adapt versus Caldera video. Okay, great review, congrats. Which shoe would you suggest for a hilly 100-miler, 4,500 elevation gain, I guess, meters, because he said 162 km in 24 hours. I was looking forward for the Adapt. I hated the Endurus 2 for its instability because I fear that my Speedgoat 6 would not be good enough shoe. Let's see the Mafate 5. I did the CCC in 20 hours with the 4. And I'll just read off my response here. Ooh, I hate to give specific recommendations for such a long race. You really have to stick with what works personally. I mentioned this earlier. Let me throw a couple things out though. Why would you want to go away from the Mafate Speed 4? Again, stick with what works. Do you have any issues with that one? I really didn't like any previous Endurus shoes, but I do think their latest model is light years ahead of the previous North Face shoe. Might be worth revisiting. Yes. The Endurus 4, I think I looked up a picture of a previous Endurus and it was so rounded at the bottom, like the bottom profile of the shoe. I felt like I was teetering around on some of those early versions. I think they really straightened that out in these new models. The Pro 2 that I tested last year and the Endurus 4, it really kind of solidified. They kept that vective roll, but they gave you like a more stable middle area, which I think makes a big difference. So again, what's wrong with this shoe? If this shoe worked, I would go with this shoe. And as I talked about earlier, I would take a look at the light version. You got this shoe, you're gonna save some weight. You know you can take it this far. And if you shave a few grams or ounces, I don't know the weight. I don't know what the weight on that one's gonna be, but it could be interesting. I wouldn't go with the Caldera personally. It depends on your weight and what you like. It's very stable, but I think it's a bit too heavy. The Adapt is great, so I would go with the Adapt is definitely in the mix, or the Endurus. As far as those three shoes, I would look at the Endurus 4 or potentially this one. The only thing is obviously this one is not out yet, so you can't get into it and try it out. But Endurus 4 I think is kind of a can't miss, and again, take a look at that light version. I brought some spec stack heights actually. The Speed 4, I measured this at 35. So the light version is gonna be the same. Endurus 4, I measured at 38. So you're gonna get similar stack with that one. Another one is the Ultra Glide 41. So this is a bit higher. I'm not crazy about the foothold in this shoe. So if I'm like looking at what I got in front of me, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this shoe, but this is 41. This one's even higher. This is 42. I like the foothold much better in this one, so I would definitely kind of recommend this one if you like that fit. Prodigio Pro comes in at 33, 33 or 34, I forgot. And this one I measured at 35 for the 005. So if you wanted to dip down slightly lower, again, this is 35. The 005 you have now at 34, and this one at 33, 34. You're in the similar range. Obviously this is pretty wide and it's heavier. The cushion is gonna feel denser underfoot. So perhaps more of a protective aspect when you get to the later part of 100 miles. These are gonna feel lighter and really good in the beginning, probably through the middle. And then, you know, it depends how that carrying around a lot more weight, you know, whatever this is, 10.7 versus 8.5 here. That's great. And this is 9.7. So you're graduating down in weight as you go from here to here to here. That's something to consider. But if you are thinking I want that dense protection, interestingly, these three don't have plates. This one is one of the shoes that doesn't have a plate. But again, that foam is denser. You know, that cushion profile layer here, denser layer down here. I think it'll be more protective, but heavier. One question came in actually today or yesterday. This is about sizing, and I thought maybe this is important to throw in, as you know, the Prodigio Pro is a big topic right now. Great review. I ended up buying the Prodigio Pro after seeing it. Do you find that the Prodigio Pro feels a bit tighter than the Prodigio for the same size? I wear 45, feels very comfortable, but the 45.5 Prodigio Pro, I feel like my toes are touching the front. Maybe not, but it Okay, and this comes from Silent Voyager. So I did take these, I did pull these out of the box. I don't lose my mountain of shoes here. So I've got the regular Prodigio here, and we got this one, both in a 10.5. I put them on side by side. I have a comparison video on Road Trail Run. It's the review of this shoe, but at the end I also compare it with this shoe. So I talk in detail about the uppers. I put them on side by side again. You might have like a hair extra length in this one, and I was kind of speculating that maybe this toe sweep is a little bit higher than this regular Prodigio. It just kind of feels maybe a little bit flatter in this area, whereas here you have more of a rocker. So when you have a rocker, it kind of, you know, pushes that front of the shoe closer to your toes. So that may be the difference, or it just may be like it's minimal. For me, I have good space in this 10.5 and also good space in this 10.5. So whatever that little bit is not bothering me. I didn't even really feel it before. So if you're closer to the edge of a size, maybe perhaps this commenter is a little bit closer to the front of this shoe, then perhaps you may notice a touch shorter. It's really not a lot because I didn't notice it at all. So I hope that helps a little bit for anyone else that's thinking about these two shoes. And one more, this comes from Barry5954. Mike, what is your Tecton X3 size and what is your Prodigio Pro size? EU size, what's on the actual label? Since it seems EU isn't one up as US size, so the normal conversion is off there. So I responded, I'll have that up on the screen. I apologize, I typically don't pay too much attention to the Euro sizing, but since this commenter specifically asked, I went and checked and I found it kind of interesting. So this is a US 10, Euro 44. Okay, so US 10, Euro 44. And I find these fit somewhat equally. And this is a US 10.5, so half size higher in the US, but an EU 43.5, half size lower in EU. So I was like, what's going on here? I don't know what's going on here. This is listed at a half US size shorter, and this is, you know, a half Euro size shorter, which doesn't make any sense. It's backwards. So if you're looking at these two shoes and thinking about sizing, pay very close attention. If you're in Europe or you're in the US and you're watching reviews, my reviews or anybody else's reviews, and you're thinking only in Euro sizing or only in US sizing, just, I don't know how to explain it, but pay attention carefully before you drop this kind of money. So I think these are equal in whatever I've got, a 10.5 and a 10 here. I have a touch extra space, I would say, in this 10. So the smaller US size, I have a touch of extra space at the front of the toe box, comparatively speaking, between these two shoes, for what that's worth. All right, so let's move on. Now I got a couple of rapid fire just to close it out. I copy pasted a few comments and I'm just gonna zip through them. I'd really love to buy Norda 005, but hesitate between Norda and Salomon S-Lab Ultra Glide. Any suggestions? Go with the Norda, don't go with the Ultra Glide. No, seriously, this is $250 and I think there's other shoes that are comparable. If you're thinking about being in the range of $250, this is $75, which is still a lot more, but it's astronomically different than other shoes compared to that one. That one's just kind of similar to a lot of other shoes. So quick, rapid answer there. Which one for a daily commute trainer on hard packed trails? This was the Endurance 4 versus a Gravic 3. Didn't bring either of those shoes out here. Endurance 4 all the way. A Gravic 3, I started running that. I did some steep downhill training, ran up the hill a couple times. In my scratch testing, I used the Gravic 3 because I was going up and down the dirt hill, and it's really great, good foothold. But on hard packed trails, the Endurance 4 is just, you're gonna have a smoother ride, you're gonna have that roll. If you're commuting, you just probably want to cruise. So The Agravic 3 is kind of more of a mountain shoe, I would say. So Endurance 4 all the way. This one comes from my Prodigio Pro and S-Lab Genesis. Question from S.Curlin. I'm interested to see a compare and contrast video of the Prodigio Pro and the North Face Vective Endurance 4. Battle the high-performing, non-plated shoes who punch way above their price point. Which is better suited for more technical terrain, wider toe box, and wider sole platform in the forefoot? So this is the Endurance 4 and the Prodigio Pro. I really should have brought that shoe out here. I think I just completely forgot. So which is better suited for more technical terrain? I think this is better suited. I'm high on the Endurance 4 because I think it could really handle technical terrain very, very well for its stack height and for its kind of, you know, rocker cruisability, you know. But I think this one, there's no plate. I think you said that it's non-plated. There is a kind of a cage in that one. It's a plastic cage, not a plate in the Endurance 4. So it does add some element of torsional kind of, not stiffness. I don't want to call it stiffness, but it adds something. This has no plate at all. More flexibility, and I just feel like the forefoot, you really, for mountain technical terrain, you really get that good feel under the forefoot here. With the Endurance 4, like I said, it's more of a kind of a rolling ride, but it can really handle well in technical terrain. I just think maybe for more rolling and sections of technical terrain, if you wanted to say it's heavily technical, I think you'd get better ground feel with this one. I like more flexibility in that kind of terrain, so I would lean this one, but I wouldn't discount the Endurance 4, especially for going further. Last question here, rapid fire. Frozen Jug Band here. Thanks for the feedback. Think I'll probably look elsewhere for my 100-mile shoe, either the Prodigio Pro or the new VJ Ultra 3 when it comes out. I think that looks like it might have the whole package too. Yes, I do have a VJ Ultra 3 sample, I believe, on the way. Not sure when that's going to come in, but they went a lot higher stack with that. The upper looks to be improved just based on the pictures that I've seen. TPE midsole, I believe. That's a very exciting shoe. It looks to be higher stacked. You mentioned Prodigio Pro. It looks to be higher stacked than this shoe. Can't comment too much until I get my feet in it, but that's another shoe that I have in the pipeline. So going on with what I have coming in the pipeline, I've got the Salomon Aero Glide 3 Gravel here. This is a shoe I'll be putting some miles in. The review will come on Road Trail Run in April, and this shoe released in April 15th. Can't speak too much about it right now. I will just say that it is an eTPU beaded midsole, and it feels great. Really like the ride of this shoe. You know, people are not sold on this gravel idea, but if you are gonna go on gravel or GRVL as it's called, I think this is a good foam for that. What else we got? Yeah, I got a box here. I don't know if you noticed this. H-drop also on the way. I'm wrapping up my testing on this. I want to test more outdoors without having layers on top of it. I had some questions about that, so probably got maybe a week or two now that it's at least a reasonable temperature to run, possibly sometimes in a t-shirt. So look for a full H-drop review. I have some sweat testing videos. I think that's super important. I know it's not going to be the most earth-shattering videos and popular videos to watch, but I think hydration and sweat testing, if you look at some of the performances of the top ultra athletes, I heard Tara Dower uses this, so she just, you know, set the FKT on the Appalachian Trail, use this to dial in her hydration. So I would encourage you, not just trying to promote my videos here, but I think it's important. I think it's great, and I think this thing works great too. So look for a full review within maybe a couple weeks or so. So let's go. You can see the logo here, Arc'teryx. There we go. Enjoy, Jam Collective. Thank you, Jam Collective. We got the Norvin LD4 Gore-Tex. Okay. US 9, by the way. I did try Arc'teryx shoes out at TRE. Definitely run short, and I was able to try it. Look at this. All black. Arc'teryx Norvin LD4 Gore-Tex. Did I get that right? Yeah, I did. Me too. Feels kind of light, especially for a Gore-Tex shoe. What's this? Vibram Mega Grip Light Base. Nice. Okay. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy these Q&As. As always, please leave plenty of comments down in the comment section below, across other platforms, Road Trail Run, my Instagram, everything. I do check them. I do try to respond. If it's something that I feel is important to share with everyone, I'll throw it into the next Q&A session. So thank you for watching. Hidden laces here, or at least the eyelets are on the inside. That's kind of cool. Yeah, definitely US 9. Don't wear US 9 in many shoes, but Arc'teryx runs short. I am confirming. Very sleek, very cool. This one's also coming in for review in the near future. Ice Bug Yarv.